And
Awesome.
so I
Love
don't
it.
want to wait too much longer without introducing you. We are super thankful to have you here today. I guess, in terms of like a short introduction, the best way that I could describe you, Aaron, is like marketing guru, like this person who spent hours and hours researching tech, specifically in the real estate industry, a coach, a team lead, but really like all psychology based. And so a little bit of a different thought process in terms of how you approach all these different areas of real estate. So um, kind of coming off the tail of Todd's conversation this morning, this is actually going to be perfect because you figure out what's special about you, you figure out your purple cow, and then you move into, okay, so now how do I tell people about this? How do I get people to know me? So thank you so much for being here, and we really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. And, just really excited to share, a culmination of what I figured out after, being in this business for, for, almost 20 years. And, really over the last 10 years, I've met with over 8,000 agents across the country and just talked to them about their story, their journey, their needs, what their challenges are, what their strengths are. And it's really helped me put together what I feel are, these seven, the seven key elements of a story that an agent can really use and leverage to create differentiation, to allow others some insight, some transparency into their authentic life, their authentic world, because that is the true differentiator. I mean, if you think about it, the true differentiator that we have, outside of maybe a unique marketing program or unique service that we provide, is our story, is our personalities, because they're, no two are alike. So leveraging that, but being comfortable with that, really, really just kind of like, pulling the curtain back and going, you know what, this is who I am, and I deserve to reach my potential. I deserve this success, and I'm willing to go at it. I'm willing to fight for it. And so I want to run through, I've got a presentation I want to share with you that again, I'm excited that I put together just for you guys here today, that's going to cover these 7 steps. And you're welcome to ask questions at any time. I'm going to take a look at chat. And so I'm going to go ahead and get started in that here momentarily. So let me see if I can share screen. And then you guys let me know if that came up okay for you. You can see that okay? Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
so I did use the format that you sent over for us. So this is all about the power of your unique story. And again, I've, in meeting with, over 8,000 agents in the last 10 years as a psychology-driven digital marketer, oftentimes agents, ask me some very similar questions, some very common questions. And those questions usually are, Aaron, how do I use social media? What do I post on Facebook and Instagram? Aaron, how can I generate market share in certain areas? And what's interesting is I actually am in the process of publishing another article to Inman News on the 5 main topics that I've covered just this year alone, and a little over 1,000 conversations I've had. But one of those is, how do I create differentiation? Usually agents don't ask me specifically, how do I differentiate? How do I create a unique story? But usually the conversation leads back to, how do we show authenticity, transparency into who we are? So that's what we're going to cover today. So who am I? Again, I'm just somebody that is insanely passionate about real estate, marketing, and technology. In fact, I was looking up, so I live in the Phoenix, Arizona area, and I get to work with agents, teams, brokerages all around the country. And you know what, I was actually, years ago, about 10 years ago, I went online and I looked at the Department of Real Estate. And I just pulled my name up because I actually have my broker's license in Arizona. I'm just a self-employed broker, just to kind of stay current with what's going on in the industry. But I saw a Holly Lacey, and I saw my mother actually was licensed in the 70s. When I was born in 79. She was a licensed agent in the state of Arizona. So I think I have it in my DNA. So I've taken the technology and marketing background, married that with real estate, my passion for real estate, my passion for helping real estate agents not just stay competitive, not just be relevant, but actually just gain a competitive advantage, excel, modernize. And so that's really what I love to do. I've contributed to Inman, the Inman organization. If you're not familiar, they put on conferences throughout the year. They have a great website, great newsletter with awesome information. I'm a contributing author there, an ambassador there, involved with them quite a bit. I had a conversation with somebody by the name of Gary Vaynerchuk, and we talked about just learning and understanding versus executing. And my goal for everybody today, the reason I show this photo is I would love for every single person that can hear me right now, that can see me right now, to execute on these 7 steps that I'm going to share with you today. Okay. And if you already have crafted your story, maybe you're going to look at your story in a new light. Maybe you're going to find something that's going to allow you to create some more differentiation, to really leverage your uniqueness, and take advantage of who you are, right? Of who you are and what you're doing that's different, because we all do things that are different. But again, executing versus just listening to me, feeling good about listening to me, but then not taking action. Okay. So, and what's really interesting is Gary loved this video so much, he actually posted it to Facebook twice, to his newsletter, to Instagram. It's got almost 1 million views. And it's pretty interesting. It was just a quick conversation we had. I didn't even know there was a videographer there. So here's what I want to do. I want to quickly just set the stage with storytelling. And then again, we're going to craft your story in 7 quick steps. But the fact is, storytelling is one of the key elements of marketing in general. And, I follow a lot of thought leaders in the real estate space, and some of them say real estate agents are salespeople. Some say they're marketers. I think they're both, but I think a good salesperson and a good marketer are good storytellers, right? They're able to evoke emotion out of a reader or a listener. And so the actual science behind storytelling is that when you're telling someone a story, it's fascinating because oftentimes you'll see that they will lose focus and it almost looks like they're looking behind you, right? And you feel like maybe you've lost them. Maybe they're not paying attention to you anymore. They're thinking about their to-do list, the groceries they need to grab, a call they need to make. But what's really happening is oftentimes they position themselves into your story, right? And now they're actually living in your story, and that is what you want. That is them actually experiencing an emotional response. So there's a cortisol release, right? There's an oxytocin release. Now they're empathetic to that journey, to that story. They're highly focused. They're so focused where they actually you feel like they're looking right through you, right? They're totally coupling to your story. So it increases the connection they have because you are, again, sharing this experience with them. And then, of course, we all know what dopamine is. Dopamine aids in memory. It's going to allow them to continue to remember this story for a long time. But dopamine is the love drug, basically. And so what's happening is because you emotionally engage them in this form of communication, all of a sudden, all these hormonal releases happen in their brain, and you've got them, right? You've got them. And so it's so important to really understand your story, not just storytelling, but specifically your story. So that's what we're going to dive into today. And again, our goal is to evoke emotion with our viewer or our reader. And I'm just going to cover, again, these 7 steps. But with any sort of marketing, any sort of communication we put out, our goal is to evoke emotion, because people don't make decision based on logic, right? They make a decision based on emotion. And so if we can create emotion through visuals that we put out, through, let's just talk social media for a second. Your Facebook business page, that cover photo in the background, you have a massive opportunity to create a strong connection with someone, to build trust very quickly. If you can create some sort of emotion with them as soon as they land on that profile. Now, how do we do that? It's not by showing a beautiful sunset. It's not by showing a beautiful skyline or a picture of a beautiful home, okay? Because people don't fall in love necessarily with skylines and with sunsets and with homes. It's with other people, right? That human to human interaction, that human connection is the most powerful thing. It's why we're still in business, because the consumer, buyers and sellers still want to work with somebody that they can relate to, that they can connect with. And so if you can put a visual, right, of you in action, you behind the scenes, showing property, opening a door for a client at a signing, if that's your background photo or your cover photo on your social media profiles, and maybe, overlay your logo or contact information or your name wherever you see fit, that's going to evoke emotion. That's going to allow them to then be more open and receptive to the message that you want to provide them. They're going to be more likely to want to trust you. So again, setting the stage, we live in a time where visibility trumps ability, right? Visibility trumps ability. So your ability to just be visible, right? To be visible in different places, that especially that matter to your client or your prospect, actually are better than your ability, at least initially, than your ability to successfully guide someone through a transaction. Now, we still need to be able to do that, but we need to really focus right now on kind of perception and visibility. And so what I would ask you is, where is your story? Okay, where is your story? Right? If I were to search for you on Google, now I just searched for a fictitious real estate agent here, Josephine Smith, who, what do you know, actually exists. I just made that name up, but of course there are almost 2 million real estate agents here in the United States. So of course there's one named Josephine. So you know what, Josephine Smith, I was looking through her profiles, right? I was looking through these results on Google and I couldn't find her story, right? I couldn't find her story. And so, some people may call a story a bio, but I think bio is, a 3-letter word. We all, our eyes roll to the back of our head when we think about bio, because nobody wants to talk about themselves. But the fact is, I want to see Josephine's story, especially if I was somebody that either worked with Josephine in the past, maybe I was referred to her, or maybe she is, working in the lead generation space and I was a lead that she had reached out to, and I was waiting to respond back to her before, I reached out to her to find out if she was the right fit for me. And what we're actually finding right now, though, through different studies that we're doing, my team and I, is we're finding that almost 90% of people that find out about us, whether they're referred to us, past clients, leads, somebody we've met at a networking event, an open house, they're searching for us on Google, and they're making fast decisions, very, very quick decisions based on what they see or don't see in simply those Google search results. So you putting together your story is going to allow you to leverage it in all these very important places and put this back in front of people so that they feel more connected to you and more likely to then reach out to you. And here's what else I'd say is, if you generate a lot of your business from referral, right, from word of mouth, what we're finding is that a lot of referral and word of mouth business is being generated through somebody that trusts you telling somebody else your story, okay? And what better way to give them the ammo, to arm them to refer you to more people than to simply provide your story to them, okay? Because again, that's what they're looking for. They want to be able to provide that transfer of trust very simply, very easily. And here's what I would say too. Does your story look like this? And not picking on Steve, probably a phenomenal agent. I don't know Steve personally. But oftentimes I'm seeing agent stories that look like this, right? Hi, my name is Aaron. I help buyers and sellers with real estate, and I'm dedicated, I'm smart, I'm full-time, right? Is that you telling a story? Is that creating an emotional connection with somebody, right? Is that enough? Is that a story, or are we simply just sharing some basic information with them? Okay. So if your story looks like this, I think this is the perfect segment for you. And then my other question for you would be, are others telling your story for you? Okay. Are others telling your story for you? Now here's a bad review for an agent, but what I would say is the concept of social proof, and that is where humans inherently trust other humans to make the right decision, right? We're pack animals, we're herd animals. And so what I would say is, if you haven't crafted your story still exists online. It just exists in other format. It exists in the post that you post on social media, exists in the visuals that show up for you, with regards to your cover photo, background photos, your profile photos, your reviews, right? The social proof where humans have vouched for you, where they've said something positive or maybe something negative. Okay, so we want to ensure that we're in control of our own destiny. We're telling our own story. Let's not let these reviews be the storyteller for us. Now, we can absolutely leverage these to create relatability, right? To build trust. So reviews, social proof in general is absolutely imperative for our business. We really want to focus on ensuring we have a process in place for generating ratings and reviews during and after every transaction, and not just with people we've worked with, but also people that know us in any sort of professional capacity, because again, that is the name of the game, especially moving forward. And what I would, just a side note, my top recommended profile for generating ratings and reviews would be your Google Business profile, because Google Business is really funneling incredible amounts of money in enhancing and building their business directory online. And that is the Google Business profile. And oftentimes it's the first impression people have of you. So if they have a good first impression, it's very likely that they're going to end up working with you. Okay, so what we're going to go through is, again, those 7 steps to crafting your story. Okay, so before we begin, this may be a little difficult to do right now, but I want you to calculate your numbers. Okay, calculate your numbers, because what we're going to do is we're going to infuse your evidence of success into your story. Okay, because this is what people are looking for, right? With the opportunity that the internet provides to drill down into the lives, into it really into the background of anybody, any company, any service provider, people are expecting to be able to get access to this information. We may as well provide it for them. They want to work with the best. They now can research and vet out the best products, the best services, the best tools, the best, businesses online because of the access of information, the ease of getting access to that information. So if people want to work with the best, they want to work with the expert, the authority, the thought leader, we need to position ourselves into those different roles, right? We need to do it immediately. You guys, this is something that is absolutely critical for your business moving forward. And now you don't have to appeal to everybody, right? And in marketing, there's definitely what they call riches and niches. And Todd Davis, who a lot of you may have just heard speak earlier today, the founder of LifeLock, sold that for multi-billion dollars, which is incredible. He talked about, he's a storyteller. If you listen to Todd, he just told stories for about an hour. Okay, incredible storyteller. So I'll tell you what, if there's no other skill that you pick up from today, it's dive into storytelling, because it seems like it's worked out pretty well for Todd also. But he talked about Purple Cow and differentiating, and Purple Cow was written by one of my favorite authors, Seth Godin, who's written over 20 books on marketing. He's really one of the most brilliant minds in marketing. Take a look at some of his books. Take a look at you can actually sign up for his blog. Seth Godin is his name. But his whole concept of really establishing yourself as the go-to, as the authority. He wrote a book called Linchpin, which is where you're the resource, right? You're the provider. You're the one that goes above and beyond. So we're going to go above and beyond for folks. We want to show them exactly what we've done and how we've exceeded market average. So there's really 3 main numbers we want to look at. We want to look at your average list to sale ratio. Okay. So if homes in your market are selling at 98% of list price and you're selling at 99% of list price, right? That's a 1% difference. What does that 1% look like from a dollar standpoint? Okay, so you can leverage that number to show that you're the authority, right? That you're exceeding the average agent. And now that's if you're working with a seller. If you're working with a buyer, you can also leverage that same number. If again the average list to sale price ratio is 98%, and you, while working with buyers, are securing offers at 97%, right? That's a 1% difference. How much are you saving buyers? Okay, and then on the list side, average days on market, right? If the average day on market in your market is 45 days from list to sell or to close, and you are 30 days, right? That is a 33% difference. You're selling homes 33% faster. Those are highly leverageable numbers. Take the time to calculate your numbers, you guys. There's a lot of different ways to do that. You can use the MLS. There's a lot of different market reporting platforms out there as well. Okay, so step number 1, Okay, I promise we're going to get into this. So step number one is the executive summary of your story. And it's who are you and what success do you create through the services you provide? Okay, so who am I and what success do I create through the services I provide? And by the way, these 7 steps took me about 3 years to put together. You may think, wow, Aaron, you must work really slowly. But I analyzed over 500 bios to really put together these 7 steps here. So who am I and what success do I create through the services I provide? I'm going to share with you just some basic kind of raw examples of what you might consider from a format standpoint or a content standpoint. But I want you, again, to put this in your own, really in your own words. Okay. And you can expand on it, and you should make this as readable as possible. Because the goal would be, if somebody reads your story or listens to it, there's a beginning, a middle, and an end. Okay. And it's not just this kind of scattered verbiage. So here's my example. I'm Aaron Lacey. Again, I just came up with this real quick. It's real kind of concise and condensed. Yours could be a little more, have a little more meat to it for sure. So I said, I'm Aaron Lacey, a Phoenix, Arizona property specialist with Realty Executives, of course, who over the past 7 years has helped over 100 clients buy or sell 18% faster than the market. This has put an extra $500,000 in the pockets of my clients. Okay. So this is kind of an opening, very statistically driven line. But I would say for you, we need to just hook them on some sort of piece of success. Okay. And I can't stress enough how important it is to leverage numbers as much as possible. And when I say numbers, I mean actually the written, the actual numeral numbers, because the eye sees those numbers and interprets those and catches those much, much faster than it does the written word. So, and then also there's a lot of trust associated with numbers and statistics, right? Inherently people trust those. Okay. So what we want to do is try to hook them with a kind of executive summary right out of the gate. Again, this is kind of just a shortened version of what yours might look like, but I'm just stating who I am, where I work, who I work with, the success I've had. Okay. And then if we jump to step 2, we're now going to start to break down what that looks like. Who do I work with and where? And keep in mind, some of this may seem super, super simple. You might already have this in what I, again, call your story. But what we want to do is list out, and we want to be as specific as possible. So you could simply say, and this is fairly generic, right? You could say, I work with investors, homeowners, first-time home buyers, and relocations in Gilbert, Mesa, Tempe, and Chandler. Okay. And so one of the reasons why we're listing out locations and types of people is for search engine purposes, right? We want our story to show up in the Google search results if somebody's looking for a relocation specialist that, in Gilbert, right? It's very likely that our profile, one of our profiles, may show up in the Google search results. And therefore now we have somebody that's reaching out to us saying, hey, Aaron, can you help me? It looks like you work with relocations in Gilbert. Okay. So a very kind of cut and dry with who do I work with and where. Step 3, how am I different? You ever had someone ask you this? How are you different? Especially if you're competing for a listing, how are you different? You may not have ever had anybody ask this, but this sometimes and often is a difficult question to answer. And it's something that we need to have the answer for. We need to understand how we're different. And just having a high level of integrity, being responsive, being communicative, being professional, those are not differentiators. I would say that kind of tongue in cheek because sometimes they can be, but what you're going to find though is that's what everybody else says. And that's not creating differentiation for you. Okay. That should just be a baseline for doing business, right? We should all be professional. We should all have a high level of integrity. So how are you different above and beyond that? Right. And so what I want you to start thinking about is how you can position yourself in a way that is different. And maybe it's where and again, my example here is I'm showing how you can take your bundle of seller services, package them up and call them the Seller's Advantage Program. Okay. So my example here is I offer a Seller's Advantage Program that markets properties in a new way using the latest in marketing and advertising techniques to generate a 3% higher list price and sell 11% faster, earning my sellers over $10,000 on average. Okay. So just one example. What can we do to show differentiation? And sometimes, again, bundling a buyer program, bundling a seller program, but showing how we specifically work with relocations or empty nesters. We can get deep into their world and start to create that relatability. They start to see themselves in that message, in the verbiage that we're sharing. Okay. And again, you'll notice that I'm always sharing how we're exceeding average. You see there, generate 3% higher list price, sell 11% faster, earning sellers over $10,000 more on average. Okay. And one of the reasons why I really am kind of focused on tapping into really three different tenets. And everyone's familiar with Opendoor, OfferPad, especially in the Phoenix market, and some of these other bigger markets that they're in. But these, instant buyers, they focus on speed, simplicity, and certainty, and then they capitalize on convenience. Well, we can tap into some of those same concepts as well. And I'm not saying we need to mimic them by any means, but the fact of the matter is consumers are looking for a fast transaction. They want it to be as simple as possible, and they want to feel for certain that it's going to work out successfully for them. And so that's where we tap into these three core tenets: speed, simplicity, and certainty. How can we start to integrate these into our business, into our listing presentations, into our marketing materials? How can we leverage these different concepts? Because this is what, again, this is exactly what consumers are looking for. And why not provide this to them? So again, speed, simplicity, and certainty are things that we don't really diagram out for folks, right? If you look at a lot of these iBuyer websites, they've got flow charts and they've got different graphics, right? And they show the process that they take buyers and sellers through when they work with them. And a lot of us haven't taken the time to develop out those types of materials and then posted those publicly, like on a website or on social media, or wherever it might be in our marketing materials. And so what I would say is, if you do that, what that does is it actually creates simplicity in the mind of that buyer or seller. They see that, okay, this is a simple process. I see the 5 steps all the way from our initial consultation through preparing and staging the home for sale to kind of that offer process, through escrow, and then close, right? If they can see and visually actually see all those different steps, it creates peace of mind for them. And they're more likely to want to move forward with someone that they feel like is going to create a more simple experience, create that peace of mind, right? Especially because they know it's a pretty hectic and stressful experience overall. And so here's what I'd say. Step number 4, you guys. Step number 4. What success have I accomplished? Okay. So step 3 was, how am I different? Step 4, what success have I accomplished? And again, you notice we're talking numbers. We're talking numbers. Numbers tell stories, right? Numbers tell stories. So again, you guys, this is the framework for your story that I want you to spend some time with. I want you to expand on. So again, what success have I accomplished? Share with people how you are creating success. What is your evidence of success? And I want to share just an experience and a specific example of a condo brokerage in Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. Okay. And they actually this is a screenshot of their website. And one thing that you notice at the top, they're displaying very prominently their evidence of success. And when they added this evidence of success, it increased their business. It increased the number of connections they were receiving, the number of communications they were receiving from their website, the number of referrals overall the brokerage was receiving, because they leveraged the fact that they are 3 times faster at selling condos. Okay, 3 times faster. And again, maybe the condos they sell have an average day on market of 20 days and market average is 60, right? They're 3 times faster. Condos they market sell for 2% more, right? 98% list to sale price ratio. Maybe market average is 96 where they're at. Okay, 2% more. Leveraging those numbers, it's creating more opportunities for them, because people feel like they're more likely to achieve a higher level of success working with these folks. Again, it tells a more powerful story, and that's what we want to do. Okay. And so what success have I accomplished? So here's an example. Again, a quick example. Over the past 18 years, I, or my team and I, or my brokerage and I, however you want to leverage, has sold over X amount of dollars in homes, assisted over X number of families, whatever that looks like, investors, relocations, empty nesters, doctors, right? First responders, right? Whatever your niche is, folks in a certain area. Okay. I want you to speak directly to them and share with them evidence of success. Now, if you're a new agent, it may be hard to say over the past 18 years, because you may say, well, am I going to put over the past 2 months? Because I've only been licensed for 2 months. So if you haven't been licensed for a long time, or you don't have a lot of transactions under your belt, maybe you're part of a team. Maybe you can leverage your organization. Maybe you can leverage kind of, your internal, your internal team. Okay. Or we go in a little bit of a different direction and talk about some other success that we've accomplished, maybe in another space, another industry, another career that is relatable and transferable to real estate. Okay. Again, we're crafting this story of who we are, who we work with, and how we're different, and the success that we create. So step 5, why should you choose me? Step 5, why should you choose me? Okay, so we're not even waiting for them to ask this question. We're simply answering it right out of the gate. Why should you choose me? And here are a couple examples I want to share with you. And again, some food for thought examples. The first one is 93% of my business is repeat and referral. I have a client, John P., who's bought or sold over 11 homes with me over the past 7 years. Ask him why you should choose me. There's John's phone number and email address. Okay, this was actually something that kind of a true story. I just changed the name and the contact information, obviously. But this agent found someone that he had worked with multiple times, someone that's referred quite a few transactions to him, and reached out to him and said, John, do you mind if I share your contact information as kind of a reference in my story? And John said, sure. I mean, what do you want me to say? If somebody calls me. And this agent said, well, John, let's be honest. No one's ever going to call you. But if they do, just share with them why you've decided to use me over the last 7 years for 11 transactions. Okay. And listed out their contact information, right? It's really putting your money where your mouth is. It's not just saying, hey, I generate all my business from repeat and referral. I do that, and here's somebody that you can actually talk to. So it adds a lot of credibility to that statement. And oftentimes a lot of our business is from repeat and referral, which is great. So another example might be that you make the process easy. Your quote unquote buy simple home buyer program ensures you only see the homes that are the right fit for you on your time schedule, and leaves all the heavy lifting to me. Okay. And again, that's you packaging up and putting a name on a service that you provide, right? That's probably fairly simple to others in the industry, but you've simply presented it in a different light. That is differentiation, you guys. In this business, it's easy to differentiate. Again, 1.8 million real estate agents, 1.3 million realtors in the United States. On average, the average consumer is connected to 5 real estate agents, right? And kind of their, kind of immediate to secondary friend group. And so to create differentiation, we simply need to just step outside of the big school of fish that we're in. I work with a broker that as a boutique brokerage, about 150 agents in a big market. And his whole philosophy and methodology is to escape the school, right? Escape the school of fish, park where nobody else is parking. He created a big marketing campaign where it was all about you instead of all about him. And it actually showed a picture of him, and it showed the back of his head instead of his face, right? So a lot of differentiation there, just again, the perception of differentiation, right? Now, if you're competing for a listing and you have a program that is a named program, people are just going to feel more comfortable. They're going to feel more secure, more confident in your program, right? So again, just examples of ways that you can leverage some differentiation to show how you're different, and show people why they should choose you, because you are creating success with what you're doing. Okay, and so step 6 would be, here's who chose me. Right, here's who chose me. Now, I just took some screenshots, and you wouldn't include the screenshot in your story, but I took some screenshots for an agent in I think she's in the East Coast somewhere, from Zillow. So I just grabbed 3 sample Zillow reviews. Okay, and this is probably going to be a pretty good little exercise for some of you in just really understand what the value is in these reviews specifically, and what we should be asking for from a review standpoint, and how people are interpreting these. So if I look at these 3 reviews, okay, the first one says, Christy's very motivated, got my home sold quickly. She caught a bunch of errors. If I'm ever in the market to buy another house in this area, I'll definitely hire her again. Okay, so that sounds great, right? Sounds like Christy's great. I don't see a lot of differentiation there, but there is a way for us to leverage that review. This other one says, Christy's been an absolute pleasure to work with. She's knowledgeable, efficient, and responsive to any questions or concerns. Again, in my opinion, a baseline standard for what we should be doing anyways. And she has helped, make a stressful process much easier. We could not be happier with our experience in working with her. Okay. Okay. So baseline stuff, right? Good reviews. But are they sharing specific instances where she went above and beyond? And that's what I want to really encourage you to do. If you, again, I know it's one thing to get somebody to actually rate and review you, right? It's not easy. And why is that? It's not that they don't like you. It's not that they necessarily didn't have a good experience with you, because studies have shown that 7 out of 10 people we work with are happy, more than happy to write us a review if they were simply asked. But guess what? Only 20% of us are actually asking for reviews. So number one, we need to step up, and we need to start asking. We need to put a process in place to ensure that everybody is getting asked for those reviews, because they're willing to do it. Now, sometimes we need to encourage them or remind them. Okay. And when I say encourage them, gift cards work well. I like to say gift card bribery, whatever we need to do to get that review. It's imperative. It's crucial for our business to get those reviews. But in coaching and encouraging them, if you're connected to them and you're able to kind of coach and encourage them with the review, ask them to share a specific experience where you exceeded an expectation. So for example, Christy is very motivated. You may ask them, thanks very much for saying that I'm very motivated. At what point do you realize that I was motivated? Like was there a specific experience, something I did that showed you that I was motivated? Another example here, where it says that she was responsive, efficient. What do you mean by efficient? What do you mean by responsive? If you go just one level deeper, all of a sudden it tells a story. The review tells a story. And now I am connecting to that on a much deeper level. Instead of just saying Christy has a high level of integrity, I can't connect to that, because that means something different to the person that wrote the review, to you, to me. What does integrity mean, right? We have a different interpretation of it. But if we can get someone to just say, she showed a high level of integrity because she did this, because she returned extra money that was found, or she did, whatever the experience was, that is something that's relatable. That's something that is going to cause them to have an emotional connection to us. So what I'm going to show you here, though, is just how to leverage these 3. See, what I've done is I've just highlighted what I think would kind of be like that strong statement on each. And what I didn't read that one on the right here, where this person said that Christy is the Muhammad Ali of real estate, right? Muhammad Ali of real estate. Like, if someone called me the Muhammad Ali of anything, I'd go, that sounds fantastic. I'm going to leverage that, right? That might even turn into my tagline, So, but I'll hire her again. She's made a stressful process easier, right? Ease. Remember, we talked about simplicity that consumers want: speed, simplicity, certainty, convenience, right? Are we convenient from a communication standpoint? Are we leveraging technology like a calendar appointment setting system like Calendly? right? So that people can easily just connect with us, pick a time that works for both of us. It puts the calendar event on our calendar and it sends them an invite, and it even connects right to Zoom and already schedules the Zoom meeting. So we're already, I mean, are we leveraging some of these things to make ourselves more convenient to talk to meet with? Okay, because we're not always available, right? We're not always available via phone. We're not always responsive via email because we're out doing things. And so again, how are we going above and beyond for some of these folks? And then when we do get these reviews, you guys, how do we leverage them? And what I would say is take these snippets. Don't include the whole review in your story. Just take a small piece. Just take a small piece. We want to make your story as digestible as possible. Okay. And so, you know, for example, a couple more examples, and I know I'm kind of belaboring this, but this concept we should really expand on. This is all about storytelling. You know, like if somebody says Aaron was responsive, what's the story behind responsive? Aaron returned my text. You know, I'd say, how was I responsive? And they said, well, you know, Aaron returned my text message at 1 a.m. Does he ever sleep? Like, that's the story. You know what I mean? Somebody says you're savvy. Well, Cindy, can you tell me, you know, at what point did you realize I was savvy? Well, it's when you negotiated 5% off the asking price that you saved us over $13,000. Like, that is the story. That's what people relate to, right? That's what's creating differentiation for you. Okay. Awesome, you guys. And again, if anybody has any questions throughout this, by all means, feel free to just ask. I know we've got Q&A there as well. So again, I'm mentioning use specific stories, specific instances and experiences. These are what truly build that emotional response, that connection. Okay. And last step, step 7. What are 2 to 3 things that make me unique outside of business and that truly make you unique? Okay. You know, not that we like to travel or we like to eat food. Okay. Because all of us do, right? We love good food. Who doesn't love to travel? My father-in-law maybe is the only one that doesn't love to travel, but everyone else loves to travel. You know, I think that how can we expand on certain things, right? Here's a couple examples I want to share with you. Somebody told me, an agent told me, Aaron, you know, I love Disney. Can I write I love Disney? I said, no, I need something more. I need something deeper. Well, you know what? I love Disney so much. I got married on a Disney cruise and Mickey Mouse married us. I said, now we're talking. Okay, now that is the story. Like, you could even go deeper. You could go deeper than that. Like, what caused your love of Disney? Like, why do you love Disney so much? Does it create this, like, you know, is it so nostalgic for you that, you know, that when you think about Disney, you think back to when you were a kid and when, you know, how deep can we get in storytelling, right? To allow others to get to know us more, right? The more we talk, the more we share, the more we're being transparent, right? The more that people are going to connect to us on a deeper level. And once they connect to us on a deep level, I'm telling you, they're going to be your advocate. You know, I just got done watching an 8-part Netflix series on this gentleman that was, you know, wrongly accused in Boston for a murder he didn't commit, and he spent 23 years in prison, right? Named Sean Ellis, and I think the Netflix series is it's like Trial 4, I think it's called. Fascinating. And I don't really watch Netflix. I really don't watch much TV at all. But this for some reason just was so captivating for me. And what happened was when I started learning about his story, I was captivated. I was emotionally connected and invested into him. In fact, I started looking for him on social media. I wanted to find him and like connect with him. And I wanted to reach out to him and communicate with him, right? Because I just felt like I knew him, you know. And what do I have in common with him? Not a whole lot, but you know what? I'm empathetic towards him because I know his story. And when people get to know your story, it builds empathy with them and they feel more connected to you. And that's why we like certain actors and actresses and certain musicians and certain people, because we just feel more connected to them. And that's really the value of social media. It allows us to hook people into our lives if we're leveraging it correctly, if we're sharing our lives in an authentic way. Okay. We're sharing not just our highlight reel, but we're sharing some bad days that we have, some challenges that we're experiencing, because those challenges are what are actually relatable and not just the highlights, right? Okay, so it's not us standing in front of the Learjet. It's us tripping on the way into the commercial plane, right? The Southwest flight. That's what's relatable. You know what I mean? That's what connects people to us. So again, you guys get deep with this stuff. Like if you know if I have the opportunity to connect with you and talk to you about some of this stuff, and you're gonna and you tell me, you know what, I love Mexican food, and I say, I'm gonna say, what's your favorite dish? I'm gonna ask you why. I'm gonna ask you if you can make it. Did your parents make it? What's your favorite restaurant? What's your favorite ingredient? Why? How does it taste? How does it make you feel? Okay, let's go deep. You guys, this is 2021 is the year we go deep. Okay, I'm gonna say it right now. Let's go deep in everything we do. Right, we've taken, and I'm not going to speak for everybody, but I can tell you this. I've spoken to a lot of agents, and I know that a lot of us have taken a shallow, where we have a very wide knowledge of things, but it's very shallow, right? It's because we can't. Gosh, you guys, we're wearing a lot of different hats, right? There's a lot going on in our worlds. We can't be a marketer, a salesperson, a psychologist, a technologist, a lead generator, a manager. There's a lot of an accountant. I mean, there's a lot that has to happen in our business. But I'll tell you what, if we can go deep in certain areas of our business, we're going to be rewarded for it. Okay, we're going to be rewarded highly. It's going to create differentiation for us. So this is actually an agent that said, she said, I love Mexican food. And I said, we got to go deeper. She's like, you know what? I have an award-winning tomatillo enchilada recipe. They'll have you going back for thirds. I said, now we're talking. She said, I can tell you where to buy the ingredients. I can tell you how to make the ingredients. I said, now we're talking. Okay, so let's say we're done. That's the 7 steps. Okay, 7. Are those easy steps? Okay. You know what? They're not easy, because telling your story, it's not exactly super easy, right? If it was, we'd all be doing it, right? We'd all be doing it. So here's what I would say. Write it down. You guys write it down, and I'm happy to share with you those 7 questions in a different format so that you can refer back to those. But what I would say is, now what? Now that you've answered those 7 questions, go back and share it with somebody else. Let them look at what you've done, what you've written, right? Especially someone maybe close to you. And you know what they're going to say? They're going to go, Aaron, you're selling yourself short. Ask your clients, read your reviews. I looked in the chat here and somebody says, Daryl said, when I get down once in a while, I'll go read my reviews. It pulls me up. That's awesome, Daryl. I love that. How cool is that? When was the last time you read your reviews? Like, just gone through and read your reviews and go, you know what? That's me. They're talking about me. Like, that is pretty darn cool. You know what I mean? That's really, really cool. Oftentimes I'll see agents with 20, 50, 100, hundreds, right? 1,000 reviews, right? I go, have you read through all those? Like, that is really, really, really neat. So now what do we do once we put together those 7 steps? Okay. Where do we post this story? Where do we share it? How do we leverage this? Because you know what? We can't keep it secret. We have to get it out. Right? We have to get it out. We have to get it everywhere. Share it everywhere. We want people to not stumble upon it. We don't want them to mistakenly happen upon our story. We want them to see it front and center. When they do a search for us, when they land on our website, when they get an email from us, when they get a text message from us, I want our story to be easily accessible. I want links. I want it posted. I want it on social media, on all your profiles. I want it everywhere. I want it consistent. And I get that Google My Business and some of these other profiles, they only give you a limited number of characters to add your story. So, I think Google Business Profile is 750. But do what you can, right? Do what you can to get it there. Maybe condense it a little bit to get it in a little more of a short form version. Maybe you have a short form and a long form version, but get it posted everywhere, you guys. Okay. This is going to help you generate more referrals, more repeat business, right? This is, again, what others are using to refer people to you. So definitely take advantage of the opportunity. And here's the thing, what's next? Once you've got your story created, guess what you're going to do with it? You're going to take some time, right? Whether you're holding your phone selfie style, you buy a $15 tripod on Amazon, you go into maybe you have access to some sort of video studio. There's videographers everywhere. There's a lot of hungry videographers everywhere too. Reach out to me. I'd be happy to introduce you to a lot of videographers. They're really talented young folks. They'd be happy to knock out an awesome video for you for a few $100, right? It doesn't have to be a long video. It doesn't have to be 10 minutes long, right? If you look at Leslie's, hers is 1 minute long, right? Now you could have two different formats, or you could have a short form where you're just kind of, you know, breezing through some of the highlights. And then you could have a longer form, which is a little more of a kind of a, what I call an agent biopic, where it's kind of maybe even, you know, you have some B-roll shots or some shots of you in more of a lifestyle type setting, maybe going, waking up in the morning, going to breakfast, doing, you know, going for a run or a workout or doing some yoga, settling down for the evening, or you just simply record yourself saying it, standing in front of kind of a neutral or a neat background that's meaningful to you, with good lighting on your face, good sound, right? So people can hear you, and hear you very clearly really is key, right? And record that and then post it, you guys, and post it. If you want to share it with somebody, share it with someone you trust, ask them what they think about it. I guarantee they're going to love it. And here's the thing, you guys, oftentimes we've recorded videos like this, but we've never posted them. I can't tell you how many agents I've talked to that have done this. They've recorded other types of videos and never posted to social media or leverage them at all because they were afraid to put themselves out there because they didn't like how they looked, right? And I'll tell you what, I'm going gray, I'm going bald, I've got wrinkles, right? You know what? I am who I am, you guys, and we are who we are, right? Guess what? People get to see us when they look at us. That's how we look. So we have to get over our appearance. If we got decent light, yeah. Do I have a light on my face right now? Absolutely. Absolutely. So it makes me look a little younger. But here's the thing, you guys, leverage this opportunity. Put yourself out there in a meaningful way. The results are going to surprise you. They're absolutely going to surprise you. And as you get more comfortable putting yourself out there, and I think sharing your story is one of the biggest, most impactful things you do from a psychological standpoint. Once you do that, it's going to be easier for you to then record that story, put that video out there, which you can leverage in a million different locations. You're going to be surprised that you're going to be more comfortable in front of the camera. And what's that going to do for you? Going to allow you to then really impact a lot of people in a meaningful way. Leverage yourself as an authority, leverage the video opportunity, create differentiation, and people are going to be knocking your door down to work with you. I can promise you that. I've seen it time and time again, you guys. And here's what I want to offer you. If you guys need help with your story, I've got some 20-minute time slots. I'd be happy to help you get these questions answered, get this story formatted for you. Simply just go to getwithaaron.com, you guys. That's my offer exclusively for realty executives, you guys. And outside of that, I know we have a couple more minutes. Happy to stick around, answer some questions. But at the end of the day, I hope everybody got at least two things that they can implement, integrate into their business today. Right away, you guys. So hopefully I got you thinking. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Aaron. And we do have a couple of questions. And if you don't mind, I'd like to kind of send them your way. You went through the 7 steps, and for those that are on the call that are new agents and maybe they don't have any of those stats to start with, you talked in one of your steps about how you can leverage your team or your brokerage and kind of use some of their numbers to help a little bit. But like when you're looking at the 7 steps as a whole, if you're brand new to the business, what are your recommendations for like creating and telling your story when you don't have a whole lot of real estate experience yet?
Yeah, so that's a great question. What I would say is leverage your previous career if you have one, or just some previous experience if you have some experience in, and then figure out what the connection is between that previous experience. Maybe you were in hospitality. I mean, in college, I worked my way through college waiting tables. I was in the hospitality industry for 6 years. And so, so I am providing a service. I want to provide a fast, simple, enjoyable service to people. And I want to anticipate their needs. So you can really leverage, you can position any other experience you have to really benefit and be seen as being beneficial to someone that's looking to engage in a real estate transaction. Again, I mentioned leveraging others around you, leveraging your team, right? Your brokerage, the success that others around you, success that your brokerage has created. Leverage what people are saying about you that know you in a professional capacity. and that can share and speak on that. So, from a number leveraging standpoint, if we can leverage any sort of number that we can connect to, again, a real estate transaction or just volume. Realty Executives International has closed quite a few transactions, right? And so even your local market Realty Executives in that local markets, it closed quite a few transactions. You're part of that squad. You're part of that team, right? Now, we're not being disingenuous by saying we closed those, but say, you know what? I'm part of an organization that's doing X number of transactions, X number of business, and I get to brush shoulders with those people, right? I'm around them and I get to leverage them, right? And so you get to benefit, from this organization I'm a part of.
Thank you. And then there's another question in here. This one's from John, and he's asking if you use AdWords or Facebook advertising, or if it's just purely like organic social media presence.
Yeah. So here's what I would say. I would actually, if you're familiar with, Facebook and social media advertising and search advertising, like, Google AdWords, you can absolutely use those different platforms to build brand recognition for yourself in the market that you want to serve, right? So whether it's a community or it's a group of people, or people that have a certain niche, demographic, geographic, psychographic audience, absolutely, right? Because that recognition, once they start seeing you, right, it's going to trigger different psychological kind of it's going to imprint on them, right? And so that can be very, very beneficial, especially if then you follow up with, maybe they see your name out somewhere, or you advertise to them afterwards with something else that has a call to action. They're going to be more likely to respond to that because they feel like they already know you. So it makes total sense, to try to get your story out to as many people as possible.
And Alicia, I'd like to add something. So Aaron, great presentation and going through this. We talk a lot about setting up that digital footprint, right, on Google My Business, and especially for agents, because a lot of our executives and our agents, they don't think, oh, Google My Business, I can set that up for myself as well. But to your point, it's so critical, especially with everyone just driving to there searching for real estate agents near me, realtors in a specific area. But you really talked about the why, because we always talk about, here are the things you need to do to get this digital footprint set up, but you really embrace the why of why you need to go out and do that. So thank you for hitting on that. I did have a follow-up question to this though. So you talked a lot about telling your story, but some of it is about also coaching or suggesting to your clients on how to write that testimonial. And you might have covered it, but if you could just talk a little bit about that, like what is some best practices that you share with agents on how they can get their clients in that mindset of leaving a good enough testimonial that really tells their story?
Sure. Yeah. Oftentimes the transaction happens. It's fairly chaotic. We don't get the opportunity to really connect with somebody and ask them. But you know what? The best way to do it is simply, if you get the opportunity to ask them, maybe you take them to lunch somewhere, or grab a coffee, or you make a phone call. In person would be the best, over the phone would be the best if possible. But you simply say, you know what? It was an absolute pleasure working with you. And as you know, my business is built on referrals, is built on providing a high level of service, and people continue to come back and use me again and again. If you feel like I did a great job for you, would you mind sharing a specific experience where I exceeded your expectation on one of these different places, right? On Google, on Yelp, on Facebook, on Zillow, on realtor.com, right? Those would be the 5 major ones, with the 2 most important ones being Google My Business and Yelp Business. And if you don't have a Google Business account or profile, go to business.google.com, get that set up immediately. If you don't have a Yelp Business profile, go to biz.yelp.com and get those set up. Now, yes, you are opening yourself up to getting negative reviews, okay? But you're a business operator. You have to open yourself up to feedback, to criticism, to judgment, in order to create a voice for yourself, in order to leverage these platforms. And you can always respond if you do get a negative review. But at the end of the day, if you're providing a great level of service, your overall blended rating should be pretty high. But yeah, hopefully that answers your question, David. Is really, but with an emphasis on can you share a specific experience?
Right.
Where I
That's what I wrote down, a specific experience, because if you leave it too open or vague, then they're just going to go, Aaron was great, right? I'd use him again. I'd recommend it to my family and friends. But being very specific, that's where you kind of get into the benefits of getting that testimonial. So awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
I also like, Aaron, when you were talking about, kind of not only capturing your story and putting it out there for everyone to see, is being super authentic about it, right? So first of all, everyone is part of this conference, you're experts. And so you want the world to know that you're an expert, but you're also a human being, right? You're taking care of customers. And so I'll tell you what, all of us have seen it, right? If you ever see that Yelp review, or you've got that Google My Business review and they got nothing but 5 stars across there, first thing you think is, oh, they paid for that. That's the first thing you think of, right? On the flip side, if someone's got a whole bunch of bad reviews, you go, I want to stay away from it. But one that is balanced, right? That has more goods than bads. Because again, I call it the 80-20 rule, right? Like there's going to be folks, no matter what you do, they're not going to be happy, right? But again, and I learned this a long time ago, P.T. Barnum said this, right? Like the truth of the matter is the fact that they take time out to speak, perhaps say some things that they say, look, really liked them, but they really kind of flubbed up here, right? The fact they took time to talk about it is, at the end of the day, a good compliment, right? Because the worst thing is, I call it the silent assassin. It's the client that doesn't say a word, right? That's the problem.
And Patrick, to follow up on that, Harvard Business Review did a study years ago that said that, not just a couple of years ago, that said that the best rating that you can actually have is not a 5. Yeah, to your point, it's actually a 4.3, believe it or not. And that just shows a high level of integrity. It shows the system hasn't been gamed. It shows that you're real, that and humans know that other humans make mistakes. But the thing is, it's how you bounce back from those mistakes. And are you consistently making those, or are you learning from those and growing from those? And every review platform gives you the opportunity to respond. And you want to respond, thank the reviewer. You want to respond to every single review that you get, whether it's positive or negative.
Well said. Well said.
Yeah.
By the way, that was my reviewer. That's a review.
2 barks up for you.
Yeah, he gave me 3 barks.
Okay.
And I got to tell you that story, we're heading into lunchtime. That green enchilada sauce sounds really good right now.
I've got my wife making it now.
Oh, wonderful. Well, we'll give everyone just a couple more seconds to get in any last questions that they'd like to ask Aaron. Aaron, I just wanted to a quick comment. I really like what you were talking about, how, there's certain things that should just be baseline expectations in the business. And I think to me, like that was like my takeaway of like the biggest potential trap that you can walk right into, right? Because you get this good review and you're like, hey, I just got 5 stars. They said I provided really good service. And then you turn around and I can't tell you how many people have been like, you know what? I provide my clients really good service. No person who's buying, selling homes really knows what that means, because we don't buy and sell enough homes to be able to tell the difference between like great service, mediocre service, slightly below, unless you have a complete horror story, And so I think that's like getting really specific and understanding like what that means to someone is super important, kind of like, poking a little bit and getting them to dig in to explain why they think that, that you provide the best service. So I appreciated that a lot. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Yeah, I've got a 2-year-old daughter and a 4-year-old son, and my son is at the point where everything is, Daddy, why? Why, Daddy? Why? And I that's my new methodology, is Daddy, why? So it's, Aaron, you did a great job. Well, why do you think that? At what point did you realize that? And so just going deeper, just one step deeper, can really, again, make a massive, massive difference.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone's going to walk up to a client and be like, hey, I'm a really average realtor. Like you need to have something very specific about why you are great and why you provide a great service and what that means to them. So I thought that was really cool.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, I don't see any other questions coming in. If we do get some during the break or anything like that, we will certainly send them your way, Aaron. But
perfect.
Thank you so much for your time today and for the presentation. I thought it was excellent and gives us all something to go work on now for the rest of the day too, or at least in this break before our afternoon sessions.
There we go. I love it, you guys. You know what? Go deep this year.
Yeah, let's go deep. I like it.
Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Aaron.
All right, for everyone on the line, we're going into our big break here for the afternoon, and then we'll be back let's see, at 1 o'clock Pacific time, I believe, so 2 o'clock in Arizona. And we'll go from there. The next session is a social media panel. So kind of, again, you know, it'll just take what Aaron's talking about and run with it. What do you do with your story once you have it?